Hi, we just watched the trailer for Passengers, a $120 million reason to put Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence in a movie together.
That's right, baby. It's time for movie trailer trash. Enjoy.
All right. Before we get started this episode, I wanted to let you guys know that this episode is sponsored by NotMyCandidate.com, your source for quality political wear and satire. So check them out before the election, NotMyCandidate.com.
All righty. All right, so we just watched Passengers.
Yes.
Or not the whole movie yet,
No.
because it's not out until December 21st, but the trailer.
Yeah, and I'm Bethany,
I am Charlie.
for those of you who don't know. And yeah, we're going to talk about this trailer here. So initial thoughts? You got, well, first of all, you said it was starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, kind of teased as basically the only characters in this movie.
Basically. Not the only,
there are
but
more, but
the main characters.
I think for a good 75% of the movie, they'll be the only people on screen that you see, except for
the
I
robots.
think that guy's name is Michael Sheen.
Yeah, he's playing a robot.
He's playing the bartender robot. He's British. He's funny. He was in 30 Rock for a few episodes.
I think that'll be fun. Yeah, so in general, I think when I first heard about this movie, first of all, I heard Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt, space movie. And I was like, well, I like sci-fi personally. I love Chris Pratt, and I like Jennifer Lawrence, so that might be good.
I heard sci-fi movie. I didn't even hear space movie.
Well, I never heard about this movie at all until you told me about it.
Yeah.
And you told me it was a space movie, so you must have heard it somewhere.
Here's what I was expecting from...
Or you told me it was a sci-fi movie.
From what I heard about it, which it was some article or something on the internet.
You heard about it last October.
Yeah.
You told me about it, which is surprising to me. I hadn't heard about it.
And what I
then.
thought was going to happen from it was I thought it was going to be Chris Pratt accidentally wakes up from a cryo sleep.
Uh-huh.
And everyone on Earth, and it's on Earth, and everyone on Earth is in a cryo sleep waiting something out until they can wake up again. And Chris Pratt is walking around, gets lonely, wakes up a pretty girl that he sees because he wants someone to spend time with, and it's Jennifer Lawrence, and then the movie goes from there. Now, what this looks like is Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence wake up from cryo sleep, and they have to solve some sort of crazy mystery problem with their space station that they're on, and it's going to explode.
I don't think it's a crazy mystery. I think that the idea is, why did we wake up early? Something went wrong, and now we have 9 years to just hang out. And there's probably going to be issues like, do we have enough supplies for that 9 years? Like, or were we planning on ending up somewhere with all the supplies we need? Do we have food? Do we have all these different things?
Not 9 years, 90 years.
I thought they said 9.
No.
Are you sure?
They woke up 90 years early.
Ooh, well, that's stupid.
They were supposed to they were supposed to go to sleep and wake up in a new century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they woke up in 10 years?
Right. And,
well, that's dumb.
And
I think that's dumb. I thought 9 years early was perfect. It would be like, oh, that sucks, but you can get through it. 90 years early, it's like, you might as well just shoot yourselves in the face.
Wow. That's good to know. Well, but at the end of the trailer, you have Chris Pratt telling Jennifer Lawrence, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
There's a reason we woke up early.
Yeah.
And that might just be like a, because I think a lot of this movie is going to be romance. And so it might just be like a romantic thing at the end when they're both about to die or something. No. And they're like, we were meant to wake up together.
No, I don't think that's what it is.
But yeah, it seems
very
more like...
not.
Kind of like a Wall-E situation where the machines are in charge and they woke people up to fix their machine for them. I don't know. It doesn't matter is the point.
Wall-E didn't... What are you talking about?
The
machines are not in charge in Wall-E.
Yeah, the whole thing about Wall-E is that like in the space station, they could go back to Earth, but the machines...
don't want them to know that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, well, no, they don't know that. They don't know that until Wall-E comes. Nobody knows that until Wall-E comes.
No, apparently they have got... samples before of life on Earth, and they could go back and start rebuilding, but they keep pushing them aside and throwing them away because they want to maintain what they have going on in their little space station.
Whatever.
world.
That was a terrible movie, so let's move on.
Oh my God, you're the worst.
Okay. I gotta say this. So first of all, a lot of this trailer, I'm like, ooh, this sounds really interesting. And then the rest of the trailer, I'm just like, oh my God. This is dumb.
Well, yeah,
because I'm
weird.
sorry, I don't want to see... Well, first of all, I said this to you just now before we started. Who thought to themselves, like, man, Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, I've seen them both in movies, I've seen them act. I think they'd have great chemistry together. Because looking at both of them in all the movies they've been in, I cannot imagine them having a good chemistry together.
Yeah, and it didn't look like they were going to in this one either.
I mean, Jennifer Lawrence has good chemistry with Bradley Cooper. Obviously. That's why she keeps being in movies with him. I thought she had good chemistry with both the people from the Hunger Games.
Well,
She did fine, but she is not fun enough for Chris Pratt. She could never be fun enough for Chris Pratt.
Well, there's two things that you said off of that. First of all, I can't look at Chris Pratt without thinking comedy, and that's just a me
Exactly.
thing. But
Well, he's
I
funny.
just can't. I just
Even
can't
when he's
at all.
being serious, he's
like
still
like
funny.
when he was running around the spaceship and he's like, "Hello, is there anybody in here?" I laughed and it wasn't supposed to be funny, but I laughed. But the second thing is, and this is kind of like a weird thing that I saw on the Wikipedia page when I was reading about it. So it might not be true.
Okay.
When Jennifer Lawrence has to do a sex scene with Chris Pratt in this movie, apparently, she told reporters that she got super drunk for it because she was really like, it was her first sex scene that she's ever done. And the thing that bothered her most was this is her first time in any of her movies that she has kissed passionately a married man.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean
she
that makes
was like
sense.
really uncomfortable about it.
I
And
mean,
I'm like,
who wouldn't be?
and I'm thinking in my mind, like, yeah, who wouldn't be? But
you're
also,
an
that's like
actress.
super unprofessional. Like for your performance to.
I disagree because people do that all the time. I think she's just open about it.
But I think that no, I mean not like getting drunk. The fact that your performance might be affected just because the other person cast opposite from you has a wife.
Well, I mean, that's the difficulty of acting, right? That's kind of part of the difficulty. Like a lot of people, we've talked about this before, like it would suck to be married to an actor because you'd have to be okay with them having passionate scenes with people
Right.
other than you. And that's terrible. I can't even imagine that life. I would never allow it. I couldn't, there's no way I could get over it. I'd be like, no, you can't be in scenes where you are just pretending to make love with other people. That's not okay.
So I have to stop doing porn then.
Shut up. That's terrible. No, that's a lie. Don't listen to him.
Don't
But
listen.
no, I mean, but at the same time, I feel like when there's two actors involved in the marriage, it's like, oh, we get it. But I could see how it'd be uncomfortable if you aren't married and you're like, yeah, but you're married. And he's like, yeah, but
But
she's
here's
an
the thing.
actress. She gets it.
A lot of people say that like she's like the greatest actress of our generation.
I wouldn't
currently.
say a lot of people. I would say
I've
that
heard
a lot
multiple
of people
say that.
No, I would say that a lot of people gasped and said that when they saw her in Silver Linings Playbook.
Yes.
I have to slow down for a second.
Yeah, 'cause she was great.
When
in
they
that.
saw her in that, everybody was like, she's going to be the best actress of our generation. And then she was in Hunger Games. They're like, she's still great, which she was great in that. But then a trend that Charlie and I noticed, we realized that she is great. She is great at yelling. She is great at crying. She is great at being over dramatic, like on purpose, like for a character who's supposed to be over dramatic. But is she a great actress? That's kind of the question. Is
Right.
she? I was just as obsessed with her. After I saw Hunger Games, I was like, this girl is the best. She's gorgeous. She's smart. She's funny.
Well,
I
and
love
also
her.
to be fair,
But I don't know if she's really a good actress.
I don't think that Chris Pratt is a great actor.
No, he's good at what he does.
Right.
And she's good at what she does.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
so
why I
this is
don't
weird,
understand
this
why
movie.
they put them together. What she does and what he does, they don't go together.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. I
Because
love
like Chris Pratt, I think Chris Pratt is one
Well,
of the
he's
best
funny.
comedic actors I've ever seen.
He's got great timing. He's really funny. Yeah, I don't
And
know.
which, like,
He's
and
good,
if someone,
but I
you
can't
know,
picture him
like-
doing anything too serious.
Well, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is basically a comedy
yeah,
for the most part. For more,
Yeah.
it's a comedy more so than anything else.
yeah.
And and then you put him in Jurassic World, which
Yeah,
he was
which-
weird in, and they were tried to make him serious, and then they're gonna put him in.
They try to make him
this.
serious, but they still try to make him fun. But yeah, it was too much. That's the biggest problem
Right.
I would say for him being in that role in Jurassic World is like,
When he's
It
not a little
depends.
bit of a goofball, then he seems weird. And I
This
think that
is-
might just be because of who he
maybe
is
'cause
as a
he's-
person, but I don't know.
he seems like a D-bag. Because he has a kind of a D-bag's face, okay? Like, if he's not being funny, he looks like a very stereotypical white guy who's too cool for school. Nobody likes him.
Yeah, I
You know,
guess.
because think about it, okay, Charlie
but no,
and
there's
I,
plenty of people who can be a badass that like
that don't, but
that
he
don't-
can't.
Yeah, right.
Usually, if you're a goofball and you try and be a badass, you just come off as a douche, especially
Right,
when you're
yeah.
attractive, and he's very attractive. So,
Oh, is he?
yeah, here's the thing. A lot of people say that you remind them of him.
No,
so
but
it's
that
fine.
was pre-Guardians. That was early Parks and Rec.
He was still attractive in Parks and Rec.
But he was also very overweight.
But no, okay. You and I always joke about that line in the commercial for Jurassic World where he's like, "It depends. on what they cooked up in that
Whatever
lab
they're
of
cooking up in
theirs.
that lab of theirs.
And it was just
Like,
like,
who wrote
it
that?
was comical to us because we were like, they're trying to be serious, but first of all, that's a stupid line, and second of all, it's hilarious when he says it. But yeah, so my biggest flaw, my biggest, I don't know, irritation
Okay.
with this trailer is I think that they've made a poor casting choice already. I think that Jennifer Lawrence, it should either have been Jennifer Lawrence and somebody else or Chris Pratt and somebody else. There are a lot of actresses that I would see
But I don't think that
being
it's
good with Chris
just.
Pratt.
I don't think it's just the casting though.
No.
I think
That's just
that there's-
that's
I
my
think that
biggest
this
issue
movie-
with it.
Well, because this script that this guy wrote, which this is the same guy that wrote Prometheus, which a lot of people didn't like
A lot
for
of
certain
people
reasons,
hated that movie.
and a lot of people did like it
But
because
then I know some
it was a
people
good
who liked
movie.
it a lot.
Which might be the case with this one.
I never saw Prometheus. Did you?
No.
Okay.
And then, but it's cool because it's an original screenplay that this guy wrote, based off of no book or TV show or comic book or anything or whatever, and it's been apparently floating around in Hollywood since 2007.
Oh, so somebody just finally picked it up.
And someone finally got it and picked it up, and because this writer also wrote the Doctor Strange movie that's coming out.
It could just be that the reason it didn't get picked up for so long is because space movies weren't as popular, and now they are.
Maybe. I
Ever
possible.
since basically we had Gravity, we had Interstellar, The Martian.
Living on Mars with Matt Damon.
Yeah, I always have trouble remembering that one. The Martian. What else do we have? We had Guardians of the Galaxy, which is comedy.
that
But yeah,
counts.
I remember there was a long period of time, it felt like, after Mission to Mars and movies before that, Armageddon, other movies like that there was a big long decade between those movies and any other space movies. So it kind of people kind of got bored with astronauts. They had seen Apollo 13 and Armageddon and whatever, and they were like, okay, we're done with astronauts now. We're bored with them. And then they came up with Gravity and all those other ones, and they're kind of back on top again.
Well, because they came
Space
up with
is cool again.
original, interesting stories.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, whichever ones are based off of, they're still original stories.
Yeah.
So, and they found that people really like focusing on a central character instead of a big event that's happening.
Yeah. Good point.
And so they found this script that kind of matches that formula, and
Yeah.
they just picked
So
it
I'm just
up.
saying it could just be that it was always a good script, but now is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, I guess. And they probably
them.
have Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt under some sort of contract of some kind, so they did it.
Oh, you're saying the studio?
Yeah.
What studio's doing it?
Columbia, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So we've talked a lot about whether or not the movie should be made and who's in it and whatnot, but let's talk about the actual trailer. I told you that I thought several parts were interesting.
Right.
I really love sci-fi when it's good, when it's thought out. And one of the things I love about sci-fi is that it deals with a lot of what ifs. What if science could do this? What if we had the capability to do these different things? So obviously cryo sleep, we don't have that yet to my knowledge, unless some secret lab has it somewhere. There's a lot of cool, interesting things. So the idea of waking up and being completely alone and trying to figure it out.
Isn't Walt Disney's head in cryosleep?
No.
It's being cryogenically frozen?
I don't know. I think that there are technically
Might be a
people
rumor.
trying to
I think that Ted Williams tried to do that
No,
also.
I did. Okay. Now we're going on another tangent.
Sorry, go ahead. Go back to what you were saying. This is stupid.
I read a thing about parents who tried to cryo sleep their child's DNA or something so that they could someday create a new child from that DNA. I read something about that. So, I mean, it's clearly something people are working toward. It's weird, but going on, off of the tangent, back onto the thing. I was really interested in the idea behind this. So just the big concept, a guy and a girl wake up too early and have to figure out okay, what do we do with our time? How, do we just kind of hang out? How do we try and have fun and not be miserable for the rest of our lives alone in this world or in this planet? So I thought that was interesting. I also thought just the way that the spaceship looked and the different robots and stuff was interesting and kind of cool. I'm trying to remember. There was something in it where I was like, ooh, that's so interesting. There's lots of little parts. So
Yeah.
I think that the story is oh, we got to figure something goes wrong with the ship maybe, or maybe they feel like they're under attack or something is going on. Something weird's going on. And they're like, this isn't normal.
Well, the entire ship loses power at one point.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. And they have to get into their spacesuits at one point.
They got to go out into space and do
And
something.
so all of that, I'm like, this is so interesting. I think it would be really cool. And I am a sucker for movies that have very few characters in them.
Me too.
Castaway is the first movie I ever saw where it was almost the entirety of the movie was just one guy, and I was just blown away by it. And it's because it was Tom Hanks, and it's because he blew me away. But he made me realize, like, if you can do a movie where you're almost entirely alone and still make it a good movie, then you are worthy of all of the praise an actor could ever get. Because he did that. Will Smith did that in I Am Legend.
Yeah.
Blew me away. I am always so impressed with those people. And then Moon.
Ooh, yeah. There you go.
What's the guy's name?
Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell.
One of my faves.
For those of you who haven't seen it, Moon is a sci-fi movie that kind of, I feel like, went under the radar. I don't think it was like a big thing
I
in
never
theaters.
heard about it.
I saw it on Netflix.
You showed it to me.
And I showed it to you because somebody showed it to me and it was on Netflix. So it was just kind of like word of mouth. It is an amazing movie about a guy in space, alone in space. He's like in a space station and he's agreed to live there for however many years and then he'll get to go home. It's like and it's so good. So good. So the idea of these people being alone in space, also The Martian. That's
Well,
a good
kind
one.
of. There's a lot of people in that.
That's true, but he's
Goes back and forth.
You're right. But anyway, this one reminded me a lot of Moon. I'm like, they're awake, they're all alone. Now there's two of them instead of one, but still it's like,
But didn't it remind you of like Shiny Moon?
what are you doing?
Like everything in Moon was just so much like darker and more real and everything.
Yes,
and then this looks like
there is a problem
big
with
budget
this
studio movie.
The problem with this isn't that it's a big budget studio movie, but it's that, you're right, they make it look shiny, kind of like Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like the outside, when they're showing the ship and stuff, it's not like,
it looks
it's not like
exactly
real life.
like the new Star Trek.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the real life space stations and stuff, which I
Right.
get is supposed to be in the future, so that's fine. And like I said, I thought it was interesting looking, but I get what you're saying.
And
There's
I'm
something
gonna-
really nice about how Moon looks like it could be today.
I'm going to say this one
He's on the moon,
thing,
by the way.
and then we'll move on to where, when, how, whatever. And I think that you're going to be shocked by it just because of how I normally am.
Okay.
I think that the mistake with this movie is going to be that they didn't just make it simple. So like they didn't just focus on these two characters. So like what I'm saying is I think they should have I think they should have just made this a sci-fi romance.
See, I
And
was going to
that-
say
and
the
that's it.
parts of this movie that I hated, the parts of the trailer that I hated was like all the romance. And
Well,
I think
yeah, that's because, there's much more important things happening that you got to get to.
That's true. But I think there's going to be a long period of time where there's not important things happening. Where
Right.
they're just trying to figure out how to live.
And you're not going to care about it
But here's the
because
thing.
of all this other stuff is going on.
I think if they had more chemistry, then I wouldn't mind. But when she was like climbing onto the table to make out with him, even that looked weird. It all looked so weird. It all looked so uncomfortable. It didn't look real, which I mean, I could guess you could go with the argument of like, well, they're the last people on Earth type of situation. So it's like eventually you're like, I guess we should try and make out, right?
Well, and
you
also
know, like maybe
out of-
they don't really like each
Out
other.
of context, that's weird. So don't
That's
judge
true,
that
but I
scene
just
too
felt-
harshly.
I just feel like it all kind of made me roll my eyes.
Yeah, but there were good,
Like,
there were
oh,
interesting parts of it because it's an
let's go on a
interesting
date.
concept that seems to be not done in a good way.
Yeah, I think that it should have been either less about a romance or more about a romance. I agree, but
Right.
I don't like the idea of just a romance in space. It's like, oh, let's put a romance, but in space.
Well,
That
it
seems
would
stupid.
have to be if you were to give this story of guy wakes up another girl, romance
Yeah.
to a indie director
Mm-hmm.
and just let them and an indie writer and whatever and let them do their indie thing to it, then it would have been a really interesting movie, I think.
Maybe.
But
I will say this, just because you said indie and it made me think of this. I think a much better character to replace Jennifer Lawrence would have been Brie Larson. I could totally see her having chemistry with Chris Pratt.
Yeah, I
or
guess.
just with anyone. She's an amazing actress. Okay, I guess what I'm saying is she's a better actress than Jennifer Lawrence.
Right, yeah. I think we both
Especially
agree
for
on
this
that.
type of a role. Like a subtle, like you're alone. Jennifer Lawrence needs to yell and cry. When is she going to yell and cry in this? Well, she will, because there will be explosions and whatnot. But
I kind of like that.
the subtlety stuff where they're trying to be romantic, I'm like, if she's not yelling and crying, then she's not acting. Like she can't do a very good job. Sorry, I love you in Hunger Games, but I'm sorry, it's
all right,
true.
before we bash Jennifer Lawrence too much,
I'm sorry, it's true.
let's move on to where, when, and how you're going to see this movie.
Where? When? How?
Are you going to see this movie?
Okay. So, how am I going to see this movie? This is kind of a tricky one. You said it comes out in December, right?
Yep, December 21st.
So probably a lot of other great movies will be out around that time.
Star Wars.
So I will not see it in theater. If it would have come out in the middle of the summer when all the movies were terrible this summer,
Oh yeah.
then I would have probably gone and see it in theater. Because definitely, I mean, it looks like big production, lots of like cool stuff to look at. So that's always good for going to see in theater. It looks exciting, like a lot of adrenaline pumping moments. That's always good in theater. So, I mean, I think that I think it could draw people into the theater. I think if you're into sci-fi and you like those two actors, why not? You know? But I also think that it's probably not going to be like a huge award-winning movie or even a huge blockbuster hit.
Maybe. I mean, it could be.
Could be.
Because I think that there are plenty of people that will go to this movie, see this movie, and love this movie without even caring what the movie is or how good it is, just because these two people are in it.
They're just like, oh, I went and saw a movie and it had Chris Pratt and it had Jennifer Lawrence and they were together and it was a movie and it was great.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't care what happened or if it was really good. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to be that great, but I also don't think it's going to be terrible. I think
I agree.
I think that if I were to see this at home, rent it in Redbox and watch it like in February when it's still cold and miserable out and everybody's unhappy. Okay, that was just that's just me. But
Bethany's
in
attack
February,
on winter.
In the month of February when it's still dark, gets dark at 5 still, and it's cold, go to the Redbox, rent the movie, and watch it and be like, oh, that was a fun way to spend my Friday night.
I think that this one is going to be a Redbox for me, but the first weekend that it comes out on Redbox.
Yeah, sure.
Just because, like, it's for
that.
me, it's not I'm bored. Let's see what's on Redbox. Oh, I heard this was good. It'll be.
I want to go seek it out.
I'll be waiting for it to come out on Redbox, but I will not be seeing it in the theater.
I agree. I want to see it. I guess that's the thing that we're both trying to get at.
Yeah.
I want to see this movie. I love original scripts, and I love that someone's doing that. I want to support them just for that.
And despite what we've been saying this whole podcast, we like those two people.
Yes. Okay. Well, no, I like those two people. You hate Jennifer Lawrence.
I don't hate Jennifer Lawrence.
You have literally hated on her before.
I love her in Silver Linings Playbook. I thought she was amazing. I thought she was good in Hunger Games. But I
thought she was good in American Hustle. I just hated American Hustle.
Right. Of all the other movies that she's been in, I have not enjoyed at all.
Well, what about the X-Men movies though? You like those movies okay, and you don't like her as that character.
No, but pretty much only just because it's Jennifer Lawrence in blue body paint. It's obviously not Mystique, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and we have issues with that specifically and the way she plays her and stuff. So, I mean, that's more of a specific issue rather than she's a bad actress. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, and also she was in that movie that you saw that I never saw that was Winter's Bone that apparently she was really good in.
I really respect her as an actress because, like, in Winter's Bone, the first movie she ever did, I respect that she wants to do everything herself. She doesn't want to have like a body double come in and do stuff for her. So there was a scene in Winter's Bone where she was chopping wood. She's supposed to live out like in the middle of nowhere, I don't know, in the woods in like Missouri or something like that. Maybe not Missouri, but a place like that. Mm-hmm. Just a crappy wooded area. And so she has to take care of her family and stuff. So she's supposed to chop wood. And I heard that she tried, and they were just like that. Like she tried and she tried. They kept showing her how to do it. She tried. She couldn't do it. She was too weak. And they're like, all right, we're just going to have to bring somebody in to do this. And then she took the axe and she chopped the freaking wood. She was like, you are not bringing somebody else in. And they gave her the oomph she needed and she chopped that wood. She also learned to to properly, I don't know, prepare a squirrel in that movie. So like I like her dedication. I do believe that she's passionate about acting. And like I said, she's great at screaming and crying. And I know that sounds like a really dismissal, but it's not. I mean, seriously, some people can't handle that. Some people can't. I wonder how she would do seriously intense emotional things, and she really can't.
I wonder how she would do in a really well written, well directed horror movie.
Oh, probably pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess the thing is that more than anything, you and I have just thought that she's overrated.
Right. Yeah.
And
people
so
love her for no reason, pretty much.
When somebody is overrated, then sometimes you're harsher on them than you should be because you're trying to balance out the scale. Right. So I think that's what we're doing here. Also, you know, I think she's fun. I like her little shtick of being like, is there food here? I like that. She's like, hey, I know I'm wearing this gorgeous dress and stuff, but I'm hungry. You know, she's funny. People like it.
All right. Let's move on to the Rotten Tomatoes percentages. Rotten Tomatoes percentages! All right. So the Rotten Tomatoes percentages will probably be better than I've been leading on for these movies. I think that the critics are going to give it a 72%. However, I think the studio was hoping for like an 85.
Okay.
I think the audience will give it that 85 for those same reasons I explained earlier, because they're just excited that these two people are in a movie. Maybe not that high, maybe 80. Let's say 72 and 80.
Yeah, I think everybody, audience and critics, have been a little harsher in the last few years. So,
or maybe just recently because of how
bad
so
things
all
have
the
been.
movies.
Yeah,
have been.
yeah, it's like nothing's been so. A lot of the movies recently have been like, I'll give it a 65.
Right.
You know, like nothing's been so terrible, but yeah. I would say critics will give it in the high 60s, like 68.
Yeah.
Maybe 70.
Really? It's gonna go
Maybe
under
72.
70, you think?
Because there's just, it's like you said, the shiny aspects of it. I feel like they're gonna try, and it kind of almost, parts of it almost looked like that terrible Mila Kunis Channing Tatum movie. Was it Channing Tatum?
Jupiter Ascending?
Yeah, was he in that movie?
No, it's not going to be anything.
No,
like
no,
that.
it's not gonna be like that. But I'm afraid that it'll have too much of that, too much of the glossy, overly produced space.
A lot of people say that's one of the worst movies they've ever seen in their life.
Yeah, I've heard some things about it, and it sounds awful. But I mean, the second I remember before I saw anything about that movie, just go on this little tangent. I was in a theater, and they had a big cardboard cutout of them, and I thought that there was some like big April Fool's prank going on. It looked so terrible just in the cardboard cutout. I was like, this can't be real. This has to be a big old joke. So anyway,
well, it seems like one of those like young adult books. I don't think it is. I think that they made the movie first and we're going to write the books later or something like that. But yeah, it's one of those movies that was obviously, it was trying to be one of those young adult sci-fi romance fiction things or whatever.
I get that young adult books do really well when they're made into movies. I am one to totally give into it, but some young adult
Just the
books
one,
should
though.
not be made into movies.
Only the one. You weren't on board with Divergent.
No, but Ender's Game, I like that. I like the idea of the Maze Runner. I just don't think they necessarily executed either of those perfectly.
I liked Ender's Game more than most people did.
I also
cool.
like Harry Potter, which I believe it's close to young adult.
It's the first
it's
one.
It's young. It's youth. It's a youth book. Anyway, okay, so I gave it 68 to 70% for critics, and I will give it, sorry, I just have to get these scores out. I will give it a 79.
Oh.
For the audience. And I think people are going to enjoy it. I think I'm going to enjoy it. Like I said, I want to see it. I just don't want to go to the theater. I don't want to spend $10.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, especially in the winter, I hope that it comes out in the,
before
February's up. Because
I doubt it.
It probably won't. But here's the thing.
Maybe.
I watch a lot of movies in the winter. Because in the summer, it's like, oh, we can go outside. In the winter, it's like, and I mean, for those of you who don't know, Charlie and I are from Missouri. It's cold, and it's miserable, and it's dark. So just give me a movie. Let me curl up.
Yeah.
Let me get some buttered popcorn.
Oh, wow.
Orville Redenbacher.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor. And
although I would love that.
Love Orville Redenbacher. Specifically the bag that turns into a bowl. That's amazing.
Pop-up bowl. At grocery
get some
stores
popcorn,
near you.
Go out, get a nice Pepsi or a Mountain Dew for you.
What about a bad Pepsi?
All Pepsi is nice. And then, just curl up and watch this movie, and I think it'll be great. I think it'll be fun, but I don't think it'll be 80s worthy.
No,
80% or higher worthy, and I think that's okay. Like, I think sometimes people are like kind of wanting everything to be
the best thing they've ever seen
or more. And if it's not, then they want to give it below 50. And I think there's a lot of movies that deserve to be in the high 60s.
Well, that's
okay.
something that
and
my dad used to make fun of me and my brother for. Was every time we went to a movie that we were excited about, after we left the movie, we would go out the doors and we'd be like, that was the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
For every single one that we went and saw.
Yeah.
And so it was like 4 or 5 times a year we saw the best movie we've ever seen.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. That's just a kid thing too. But I mean, here's the thing.
I don't know.
I love going to the movie and coming out feeling like I have adrenaline pumping through my brain
Oh.
through my veins. not because it was a scary movie or but because it was a good movie. Like there are movies where I just feel like pumped up because
Right.
of how good they were. But not every movie can be that. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy it, you know. And I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, as any way you want to see this movie, you should see it, but don't be expecting too much. That might even help you if it's good.
Yeah.
Go into a few plug-a-dug-dugs here a little bit. You can go to mttpodcast.com. Look at all of the episodes, past episodes. That's where the future episodes will be.
Comparisons
Comparisons.
to see how
There's
well we did on our guesses.
some blog posts. I'm going to try writing more blog posts.
Yeah, we'll find some time.
I just put one up about indie movies that you could go look at if you so choose.
There's other great ones up there too. So look at the past ones.
You could also follow us on Twitter at MTT Podcast. You can go check out Entertainment Buffet's YouTube channel. You can go there, subscribe, watch all the sketches, comment, whatever you got to do.
They post us up on their channel as well, so that's great.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, they got podcasts as well, and so if you want to go do that, they are friends of the show. As we mentioned earlier, this episode is sponsored by NotMyCandidate.com. Political and election wear, t-shirts, stuff like that. If you want to learn how to become a sponsor for one of our episodes, you can email us at movietrailertrashpodcast@gmail.com. So if you feel like doing that,
You can sponsor an episode or 2 or 3 or 4. We'll figure it out.
yeah, there you go. So that's been another episode of Movie Trailer Trash. Thanks for coming by.
See ya later.